Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Pick Six Podcast. I'm your host, Sam. That is Mike, and today we are here getting ready to talk some defense. We're going to be giving our starting defense predictions later in the video. But for now, we're going to begin with our opening drive segment with some defensive back news. Seahawks, almost exactly a year ago, traded a fifth-round pick for Quinton Dunbar and what we thought was a steal. He ended up getting hurt all year. He had his moments, but just the injuries really derailed him. And he was on Instagram, and he was like, well, we've had talks, and I want to go back, and everything was looking kind of good and positive. And then yesterday signs with the Lions on a one-year deal.
The damn
Mike,
Lions.
give your thoughts on this move.
I was really excited when we got Quentin Dunbar because he was coming from the Washington name redacted. And I thought he was actually very solid. He wanted a contract extension. They wouldn't give it to him. They shipped him to Seattle. And I was like, okay, this is the type of guy that is a Seahawks corner. He's tall. He's pretty athletic. He's physical. I thought this was an absolute steal for a fifth-round pick. And then in the offseason, he had the whole, did he commit armed robbery? Did he not? That was the whole saga. I think he was acquitted of those crimes, which was good. But again, the trial had to be in his head the whole year, and he suffered with injuries. The bright spot, though, was against Minnesota, held Justin Jefferson to his worst game as a rookie. And obviously, that was a guy who was in contention for Rookie of the Year. So it sucks that we didn't get him back. Really wish he would have re-signed. I didn't even think that he didn't go for that expensive. So I thought we probably could have signed him back, but maybe they just love DJ Reed. I don't know, but kind of disappointed that we didn't get him back.
Well, I mean, it kind of sounds like the Seahawks really wanted him. Mm-hmm. And then, the Lions just kind of swooped in, I'm sure, with probably a better offer. I'm sure the Seahawks maybe had an offer on the table for like a 1-year veteran minimum. And it likely ended up being like the Lions coming in like 1 year, 2.5, which is just more. It's a better opportunity likely to start there, honestly, in Detroit. So,
yeah,
I mean, it hurts. I thought he was going to be a pretty good, kind of budget pickup for us and maybe just a veteran corner that fits our build. At the end of the day, this might go down as a pretty bad trade in Seahawks history. It's not necessarily
it's not
for his fault. Not necessarily for his fault. Not necessarily because he was bad, just because, the circumstances and the 1 year and kind of sucks. I was hoping it kind of leaves a hole at outside corner on our team. And now we're going to have to kind of cover that. We're going to cover that later. Actually, just over an hour ago, we had some interesting other DB news aligned with the Seahawks here. Damarius Randall appears to announce on his Twitter that he's re-signed with the Seahawks last year. Last year, he came here on the practice squad, was just kind of a depth guy, ended up signing to the active roster. I don't remember him playing much. He probably just got rotational snaps. I could probably show it on the screen here for anybody who's watching Twitter. Damarius Randall said, let's get to work, and he put the GIF of the Seahawks mascot.
I wanted him to just be like Russell, just say, go Hawks.
Yeah, just go Hawks. No, but it looks like he's coming back. A kind of a guy who can play corner and safety. He won't do either of those positions really well. I see this signing more just as depth. We don't know any money, and it hasn't even been announced by any insiders, but it seems pretty much slated in stone that he's coming back as he announces it. Mike, quick thoughts on this kind of out of the blue sign?
I like it. It's a depth piece. We were pretty thin at DB last year, so to have a guy who can just come in and be solid is always good. Obviously, you can't have too many DBs. And if there's a chance, I think 3 or 4 years ago, he was really solid. He was on the Browns. If he could capture some of that same level of play, I think he could be really good. But if he's not. It's a very cheap deal. What are you going to do? Nothing too crazy here.
Yeah, it's a sign that's not going to blow anybody's mind. It's a signing depth. He might not even make the team. I mean, just realistically, because Ryan Neal is also a guy who can play corner and safety and did it at a much better level than Miranda last year. But it's a guy who knows the system. It's a guy who's a veteran. He's a guy who's just gonna be decent. It really hasn't kind of moved around the Seahawks world yet. It's kind of just beginning to circulate, but that seems slated. Damarius Randall returns to the Seahawks. We don't know the money or the years, but it seems like a decent signing on paper. Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of on paper, we will move
on paper.
We'll be moving to our starting defense predictions here. This is kind of part 2 to our last episode where we predicted about starting offense. Now we have the starting defense, and a little bit more questions on this side of the ball than on the offensive side of the ball.
Right.
And just give your thoughts when you look at this paper. What do you think of this defense without giving away any names? Just kind of what do you think?
Right off the bat, I just want to say that we kind of broke this down into two different things. So Seattle's base scheme on their defense is they run a 4-3-4, which for those of you who don't know, it's 4 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, and 4 defensive backs. But they run nickel formation at one of the highest percentages in the league. In their nickel, they run 4-2-5, 4 D linemen, 2 linebackers, 5 defensive backs. So that's how kind of we based it. We based it on what their defensive front was looking like. Pete Carroll really loves his 4-3 schemes. So just looking at some of these names on the list, we have a lot of returning starters, but I think there's a couple positions where they could honestly go either way. Now, I was pretty conservative with my lineup, but I wouldn't be surprised if we signed a big name at a couple of these spots to spice up the defense and to bring even more talent in, is my prediction.
All right. Yeah, I'm feeling you there. Once again, likely this team hasn't changed much. Really, I mean, honestly, because we made the playoffs last year. There's not that much of change, but there is a couple things that are worth breaking down on this defense. A couple of questions. Let's begin with the defensive line here. Who do you have at your? Well, we're not doing like that Leo and 3-tech kind of thing. We're just kind of doing base defensive end, defensive tackle, defensive end.
So
who do you have at your starting defensive end?
I have Carlos Dunlap as my starting defensive end on the one side. He'll probably play Leo, but we're not doing that right now. And then on the other side, I kind of got on a technicality here. I think Benson will start the year, but I think as the year progresses, I think Darrell Taylor will creep his way in there and become the full-time starter. But I don't think he'll start week 1. I think he'll creep his way week 5, 6, 7, get more reps, and then become the every down defensive end eventually, is my opinion.
Yeah, I had Kerry Hyder starting. I also had Dunlap starting, but I had Kerry Hyder starting as the other defensive end. I feel where you're coming from there with we'll slide Darrell in and we'll give Darrell more and more minutes as the year goes on. I don't think he'll end out the year starting, but I do think he might be a guy who at the end of the year he might be getting like 35% of the snaps, which is a pretty marginable level of snaps. He's a guy who they're going to have to acclimate very slowly. No rookie year really, really sucks. Like he didn't even get to practice his rookie year. That's bad because people underestimate how valuable a rookie year is in the NFL. Imagine just taking a guy who you literally wasted a year of a contract on.
I will say, in the past few years, there has been an example of this that has gone great for the team that drafted him. There was the Tennessee Titans in the 2019 draft, I believe, drafted what's his name? Jeffrey Simmons, Jordan Simmons, something like that. Jeffrey Simmons, defensive tackle for Mississippi State. Dude tore his ACL before the draft, and the Titans picked him first round, and they were like, "What are you doing?" And they're like, "Listen, this is a top 5 talent. He tore his ACL. His draft stock plummeted. Didn't play at all his rookie year, and in his second and third year was bonkers. I mean, this guy is a bona fide stud. So I'm really hoping that that's something that is going to be the case with Darrell Taylor, because Darrell Taylor would have been a first-round pick if not for his injuries. I have very little doubt about that. So Seattle snagged him in the second, and if he can heal from those injuries, I think that he could be – I am really, really excited for Darrell Taylor.
Yeah, I'm very high on him too. I just watch his tape, and just everything jumps out. He can bull rush. He can speed rush. He's just a very high motor, mean player. He honestly could have been a very high pick if it wasn't for injuries, and I feel like the fact that it was also a COVID year really hurt because, usually guys could meet with teams. And one of the reasons why the Seahawks picked him is that he met with them pre-COVID. He met with them in early March, which is weird for a very early visit, but he met with them early March. And just by circumstance, that was before COVID lockdowns really hit. They got to see his health. And obviously they thought it was good at the time. And then he ended up getting another surgery post-draft that he did not rehab from as they expected him to, which it just, kind of comes down to bad circumstances.
And then there was Pete Carroll every week. Oh, he'll play next week. He'll practice, he'll play.
But the fact that something that really jumps out to me is that the fact that he almost played in that last game like the fact that like not only did he almost play, Pete was like, he's like really surprised us in this week of practice. He's been running, he's been moving, he's been like really just going at it after pretty much not moving all year in a football way. So I think that's very promising to hear, the fact that even after missing all that time, he could still potentially play. And it's going to be an extended offseason, like not like a COVID offseason, but actually going to have OTAs in April and stuff like that. That's also very good for his development. So that's good there.
Yes.
Who do you have at your defensive tackles?
My man, Poona Ford. I have Poona Ford. I have Al Woods. I think veteran guys up the middle there. Nothing flashy. We don't have, an Aaron Donald that we could just plug in there and dominate. But Poona and Al, they're solid, good run stuffers. I think that's pretty much all I need to say. I'm pretty sure you have the same too.
Yeah, I had the same too. Just a great run stuffing duo of defensive tackles that are not probably going to get a lot of sacks, but they might get like combined like 20 tackles for loss or something like that. So
yeah, if they can combine for 10 sacks, that's a very productive year, in my opinion. So
yeah, for sure.
I'll take that.
We're gonna move to the linebackers now. Let's give our nickel linebackers first, and then we'll add on the other linebacker in case of a 4-3. So if it were to be a nickel, I think it's Wagner and Jordyn Brooks.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Bobby Wagner's a no-brainer. And honestly, I think Jordyn
Wagner,
Brooks,
we don't even need to say it. And then Jordyn Brooks, it really depends on.
He's young. He's fast. He can cover well.
He's really surprised me in coverage, by the way. Like last year, everybody was like, well, he's a really good run stuffer, but he can not cover. In his first game back against Arizona in week 7, I remember a play where Dan Arnold, who's a pretty athletic tight end, goes about like on like a 30-yard corner route, and he has a quandre overhead, but also Jordyn Brooks is right on him, and Jordyn Brooks sticks to him the whole way, even throughout the cut, sticks to him the whole way. Murray targets him. It's an incomplete pass. That was really impressive to me. He also had a couple other moments like the Rams game, and I believe week 10, where Robert Woods was in the middle of the field. He got the ball, and here comes Jordyn Brooks from the side, just slamming into him, and Woods drops the ball.
I do remember that. I think that might have been actually like the week 16 game or whatever. But
no, that was in LA, I think. So I think it was in
maybe
LA.
You're right. Maybe you're right. I'm not going to argue. I mean, that's just a great play by Jordyn Brooks. So we're very much in agreement. 4-2-5 or 4-3-4. We're going to have Wagner and Brooks on the field. Those guys are going to get
100% of the time.
They're going to get 95 minimum percent of the snaps if they're healthy.
Yeah.
And then
Wagner got like 98% of the snaps anyways last year.
Probably got a drink of water for like 3 of them, and then we drive back out. And then for the 4-3, where we had that extra linebacker, this is going to surprise some people, but I'm going to have Cody Barton out there. I don't think we're going to re-sign KJ Wright. I would love to, don't get me wrong, but it's not looking likely in my opinion. If we do sign KJ, he'll be there. But if we cannot get KJ Wright back, then I think Cody Barton's the guy. Solid special teamer, and you can just plug him in at weak side linebacker.
Yeah, this is where we differ here. I have KJ Wright. I think he's coming back.
Okay.
I think all signs are pointing to him coming back. Dallas was really the only team. It's known that him and Seattle have kept in communication with each other. Dallas was the only team really pushing for him, and it was reported today that they are no longer in contact. They have completely cut contact. And Carlos Dunlap had his offseason press conference today. One of the players who reached out to him after he re-signed, KJ Wright.
Oh, yeah.
So,
like I said, if KJ Wright re-signs, he's right there, no doubt. He's weak side linebacker.
Yeah, and he's kind of running out of time. As a veteran, teams really. His offer is not going to get any bigger at this point in free agency. I think at one point he's just going to realize, be like, I'm just going to take the 1 year, $6.5-7 million deal with Seattle and just go there and just play the football. And I think something that Seattle might do is be like, hey, we're going to give you a 1 year, right? You can come here, have another great year, and then you're going to have a non-COVID free agency next year where you can go out and get $15 million or something like that. That might be what they say. So that's a deal good for both sides here. Just with age, Jordyn Brooks is you're eventually going to have to let Jordyn Brooks off the leash eventually. So I think that's going to kind of I think that's kind of what Seattle's going to look like here. And then I think Wright's going to come back. But even in a nickel situation, I still think they're going to play Brooks more just because I I think that they want to really start pushing the development on him, which is something that they really haven't been able to do with most first-round picks in recent years.
Not only are they developing him, but he's younger, he's faster, and he can cover better than KJ Wright at this point in time, which is just fantastic.
I mean, KJ Wright on screenplays, but after that, I want Jordyn Brooks in the game.
Correct me if I'm wrong. KJ Wright's the longest tenured Seahawk, right?
I do believe so. I think he came around in 2010. I think so, yeah.
2010, 2011, yeah. Because Russ and Bobby and all them came.
Russ and Bobby are 2012, and then everybody else isn't even close after that.
No, absolutely not. So
the next closest, I think, might be Lockett. Realistic, I think.
2015, yeah.
Wow, that's crazy to think about.
Yeah.
So it really shows how long the NFL,
Yeah, that is crazy. All right, so those are our linebackers. And then, do you want to just knock out the safeties at this point? Because
we're just gonna make this obvious. Diggs and Adams, whether they're playing on new contracts or not, those are gonna be the guys. Both Pro Bowlers last year.
If you want to get spicy and backups, Blair and Youll, I think that's pretty obvious. Also,
Blair, Neal, now Demarius Randall, I guess. So
yeah, Randall will see some snaps. I mean, we got the best tandem of safeties in the NFL, and it's not even close.
Cry me a river.
Cry us a river. He's not even close. We got the best safety tandem in the NFL. The Legion of Boom is reassembling, in case you weren't aware. Slowly.
By 2024, it's going to come together. Trust me.
By 2024, sheesh.
Now, that's when the LOB 7.0 will be around, according to Seahawks.
People were like, dude, Legion of Boom 2.0, and then we were terrible the first 8 weeks of the year. It was kind of ugly. But we'll bounce back. Now for the more, I guess, thought-provoking position, we got the cornerbacks. I'm gonna let you go first. You go first.
So
get it? You go first.
Nice. Okay, do you kind of want to go like left corner, right corner, and then slot, and we'll give our thoughts on each one. All right. So at left corner, this might maybe a little bit surprising here. I have Witherspoon. I think Pete wants a big corner on the left side, which is kind of like the prime position where quarterbacks apparently like to throw the most. I think Pete's going to end up wanting his kind of guy, and I'm not saying that I would be in favor of this. This is just me projecting what I think is the most realistic thing here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that Pete Carroll wants a 5'10" DJ Reed on the left side, where he usually puts like a 6'3" dude. I just don't think that he would like to do that if he ends up doing it. I think he's going to end up throwing Witherspoon there. I'm pretty high on Akello. I'm pretty high on him. I'm not saying he's going to be great. I'm not saying that he's going to be a perfect Shaq replacement or an improvement in any way. I'm saying that I think he's getting a bad rap from 49ers fans. When he was on the field last year, he had like an 80 PFF grade.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know why he's getting such a bad rap. Maybe because he gave up one or two plays that kind of sit in their mind or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he showed it last year, so I'm hoping that he can do that.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm all for taking the Niners players. I mean, just keep it coming. I have a little different idea than you. I have Trey Flowers at left cornerback, and I know that's like I know.
Whoa.
I know. Hear me out though. So Trey Flowers was not great. Has not been great.
Really never been great.
He's been the number 2 guy behind Shaq Griffin. But, and there's a big but, I think if he is thrown into that number 1 corner spot and they can coach him and try to develop him in a similar way that they did Shaq. Again, this guy's not going to be prime Darrelle Revis. Not going to be Jalen Ramsey. But I think he can be solid. He showed moments of greatness, like against the Cardinals last year, played great against DeAndre Hopkins. This is a guy who's got pretty good speed, got pretty good size, can get burnt sometimes, though. I think Trey Flowers is probably our starting cornerback on the left side, and I know I'm going to get heat for that, but that's my prediction. I think Pete really likes Trey Flowers.
Yeah, that's interesting. Because for me, I don't even know if Trey Flowers is going to make the team. That's kind of where I'm sitting. I'm not saying that I don't think he should make the team. I'm saying like with his cap, I think he's making $2 million on all non-fully guaranteed because of like that like CBA where it's like players get money based on performance and play time. Trey Flowers end up getting like a $1 million bonus or something like that for his play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
You're welcome to disagree with me. I mean, you can call me an idiot.
That's a hot take. That's a hot take for sure.
I
Because he
completely-
had his moments last year, like against Buffalo and Arizona and all that.
Sheesh.
Like he played pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's kind of do you believe in him? Like, do you believe that?
I believe in my boy Trey Flowers.
And to be honest, it's kind of the same situation with Akello. We're kind of saying to each other, you know, do we believe in the moments that we've seen? Do we think that those players can put it out consistently on the field? That's kind of the question that we're asking ourselves here.
Yes. Yes.
That's tough. But I don't totally like shun you for that. I don't think it's crazy.
There will be people who will shun me for that though, but I don't know, man. I'm a Trey Flowers believer. Say what you want, but I believe in my man.
All right. Now the right corner. This is where I have DJ Reed. I think DJ Reed going to play right corner. He really showed a lot last year. I'm very, very high on DJ Reed. I mean, very physical corner. He's not afraid to come up and not afraid to make a play on the football, which is one of my favorite things, which is something that we have really struggled with in the last 3 years. We've really, like, besides Quandre, think of one like ball hawk that we've had in the secondary in the last 5 years. Maybe McDougald, who is also kind of a ball hawk, but
it's pretty good.
I mean, after that, like at the corner position, we haven't had a guy who would like go up and reliably get you like 3+ picks a year. You know? So
Shaq, maybe Shaq.
I mean, Shaq had 3 picks last year, but the year before he had 0. So, you know, it's kind of tough to just go out and say that, oh, you know, we have a guy who we know can get us picks and will make plays on the football. DJ Reed is a guy who will make a play on the football. He's a guy who, you know, despite his size, he's pretty physical. He always has a chip on his shoulder, which I really like that mentality. I just feel like he always has a reason to play. And I think he's going to have another great year. I think he's really going to defy expectations again.
So this might be another hot take, but I have a kilo at right corner. I think, like you mentioned, the size is pretty good there. I think that he is more suited to go up against the big body receiver, if you will. And I think that we're going to put a kilo at right corner now to kind of segue to the slot corner. I think that's where DJ Reed fits. I think DJ Reed is a slot corner. He's a very, very good slot corner. Reminds me a lot of if any of you guys watched the Bears a couple years ago, Bryce Callahan. That year they had a really, really good defense. Bryce Callahan was really solid. He's not big. He doesn't have great size, but he's got speed. He attacks the ball, and he's physical. And those are all traits that DJ Reed has. I think that he's a great slot cornerback. Last year, he played a good amount of slot. I feel like that he was at his best when he was doing that. Cover those little speedy, shifty guys because he's got really good speed. I like DJ Reed in the slot, and that's just me, but that's where I like DJ Reed at.
Yeah, I have Marquise Blair.
Totally get it.
Last year, I feel like a lot of people forget, before he tore his ACL, Marquise Blair was like the highlight of Seahawks training camp. People were gushing over Marquise Blair. Corbin Smith on Twitter was like, all these people are talking about how excited they are for Ugo Amadi, coming into his second year starting. I'm really excited for Marquise Blair because I was at the Seahawks training camps. He was locking people down in one-on-ones in the slot during kind of what defense versus offense drills and stuff like that. So, once again, this is one of those situations where you have a guy who you picked in the second round. You can't just throw him to the bench. You can't do that. We've done it so many times, and we just can't let that happen again. We can't. I mean, we've done it with LJ Collier. We've done it with Rashad Penny. We've done it with Malik McDowell, even though he never played in the Seahawks uniform.
That wasn't our fault. That wasn't our fault.
That was not our fault. That was not our fault.
Yeah.
And before
we did it with Bruce Irvin.
Yeah.
Years ago.
We threw Bruce Irvin on the bench for, I think, Chris Clemens, who was good. Don't get me wrong.
For a year. Yeah, he was good for a year.
Yeah.
I definitely don't hate Marquise Blair there. I think Marquise Blair, the biggest thing about him, like I said with DJ Reed, physical. The dude is not afraid to stick his nose in, hit somebody, attack the football. This is a guy who I remember, if you've seen his college highlight tapes, he's flying around, knocking dudes off their butt.
Do you remember that play in the preseason game where he had against Denver where he sent that receiver flying, like midair, horizontal body flying. Like that's how bad he laid him.
I had flashes of Cam Chancellor when he did that.
Yeah.
I was like,
and the weird thing is that he's not built like Cam Chancellor whatsoever. He's a very slim, lanky guy. And that's one of the things I always bring up with him.
Was like 6'3", 6'4", 215.
He was a linebacker playing safety that could run 4.45. That's kind of what he was. He was built like Patrick Willis. Like, honestly, it wasn't even a joke.
Thinking about this, like the Seahawks have just always had really, really good safeties.
That's
been like their thing.
Even in the years where our safeties weren't great, like we still had like Bradley McDougald, who was and we had Earl Thomas. So,
and then we had Jamal Adams, who's a freaking stud. Love that man.
We're just gonna kind of jump over Tedrick Thompson. We're not even gonna mention Tedrick Thompson.
Hey man, he sealed that one game against the Rams, though. He had that one game-stealing pick, so that's
his one shining moment. That's his one shining moment.
Yeah. We'll give you that, I guess.
Yeah. But Marquise Blair, one of the things I always talk about with Marquise Blair is his length. His arms are like down to like below his knees. His arms are long as hell. Like, I'm pretty sure if you looked up his arm, like it would probably be around like 35, 36 inches.
Let's see how good you are. Marquise.
I don't want to look like a fraud right now. I actually don't know, but I would bet there'd be around there.
30.75 inches. That is
30?
really good.
30? Yeah.
It's really good.
Long, old arms. That's 2'6"
Damn.
For arms. So, like, that's like
really good.
That's almost half of me.
Yeah.
So, like, almost. So
that's very good arm length.
That's like 6 inches shorter than half of me. So just to think, like, the fact that
now you're making me do math. Hold on, 6 inches. This is not math. I'm not focusing on this.
I'm like 6 foot. I'm like 6 foot flat.
You're 6 foot? Damn, dude. I'm 6 foot too. I'm like 3 years older than you, bro. I'm supposed to be like 6'5" by now. Whatever.
Damn. Yeah, but like he's about like, I mean, it's pretty lanky, and he can reach. And I remember that play against Atlanta that he had where we showed that he wasn't afraid to get the ball on that fake punt where Atlanta ran up the middle, got the first down. He comes up, lays a hit, forced fumble, and I think Freddie Swain recovered.
I remember that actually. I remember that
exact play. And a lot of people were like, this is Marquise Blair's moment. And then the next week he tears his ACL against the New England.
Yeah, bro. Him and Bruce tore their ACL against the Patriots.
Like, and now Bruce is retired. That hurt.
Yeah, that hurt.
Yeah,
I was excited again.
I'm pretty high for Marquise Blair. He has a lot to show. And like I said, we can't waste these early picks. We've done it so many times just to like shun a player to the bench. We did it with Ethan Posick for 4 years. Like, that's like, we can't do that again. We can't have that. We need to focus on developing the players that we spent high draft capital on, even if Ugo Amadi was really surprising. And I think that he is probably going to get rotational snaps at corner. We have to give Marquise Blair a chance, and we have to push forward that development.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what we should be focused on.
I mean, I think that's just about to wrap it up. So we have our starting defense. We have a starting nickel defense, obviously. There's guys that we could get in free agency, get through the draft. But I feel like there's core guys, Bobby, Jordyn Brooks, the safeties, Carlos, that are guaranteed week one starters.
Yeah. Puna has a guaranteed week one starter.
Puna is
kind of after that, we're gonna see how everything kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We'll make sure to get more episodes out. Make sure to subscribe to YouTube. Make sure to listen on wherever you get your podcasts. And I think that's just about to wrap it up. So anything you want to close us off with, Sam?
Stay tuned next week. We'll be beginning our 5-part series on breaking down our 5 biggest needs, 1 need per episode. Stay tuned for that. Our 5 biggest needs in the draft. Stay tuned for that. Those will be out shortly. So we appreciate y'all for listening. We hope y'all enjoyed. Stay tuned. Peace out.
Peace.